Why, hello there. I'm Sin. We are in the Book Nook, and today we are going to talk about the book Sonny Boy by Al Pacino, which is a memoir of his life from when he was a kid growing up in the South Bronx to present day. I wanted to read just like a short blurb from the book that kind of like encapsulates his life. And as I read this book too, like you watch enough Al Pacino movies, like I read it and I just heard it narrated in his voice the whole time. So it feels like he's telling you stories from his life when you're reading this book, which I thought was pretty cool. So when he was a kid, he grew up in poverty. Like they had nothing. This kid was always hungry. There was a couple things he talked about, like hanging out at this one place where he said, "Oh yeah, sometimes they had free food there, and he'd make ketchup sandwiches, basically like crackers with ketchup in between to eat it." And was always running around and hanging out with his friends. He felt he had a full life though. They didn't really realize they were living in poverty. And then, eventually built up his career with a love of acting and ascended to fame. So let me read you a little blurb about something that he said from the book that I thought was kind of encapsulates like the whole vibe of the book and the vibe of Al Pacino. So, in this one part, he says, objectively, I never knew what the F I was doing. It's that simple. I went from one thing to another. I'll never learn, and that's my problem. Or my gift. I don't learn things. I'm the first one to raise my hand and say, I don't know. Who wants to wallow in the pretense of knowing everything? What knowledge? What do I know that I can sit with a pipe and expound on? I'm not Socrates. I'm an actor. It's what I do. And occasionally, I'm lucky enough to find roles that I'm suited for, and I get the chance to express something and do a good job and feel as though I created something. And I love that. I thought that was just a great sentiment, and it really does sum up when you read the book. He just kind of went along, and the roles he felt, for the most part, that he would be right for, he would want to do. He talks about a lot of the different movies that he made over the years and then being in theater. And what I didn't realize too about him is that in between all the movies he made, he's always gone back to theater. Like for years and years and years. And I had no idea that it was like all throughout his career. Because a lot of actors, I don't feel like do that. Like some of them may go back to theater and go to Broadway for a bit here and there, but like he did it throughout the whole like age span of his life. And I thought that's pretty cool. I don't know, you fall in love with something, with a craft like that, and I think it's just in your bones and in your veins. And it seems like from early on when he was a kid, he would go to see movies with his mother, and that kind of maybe sparked an interest in acting because he would watch those movies. And this was before he had a television, so he'd go home and then act out different little roles for his family members and stuff because that was his entertainment. And I think it kind of spiraled from there. And then he got into some plays when he was a kid. And then one of his teachers actually went to his house when he was going to graduate and go to high school and was like, this boy needs to act. This is what he's going to do. His teacher came to his house and told his grandmother that. And then he ended up going to this, I forget what the name of the school was, but it was like a high school for like the creative arts and for acting and stuff like that. So he ended up going there. And this may have been something that saved his life because all his friends that he grew up with, he talks about them when he was a kid as Cliffy, Bruce, and Petey. All those guys he grew up with, they all ended up dying due to drugs. Some much earlier on, and then one of the guys a little later, but none of them survived. And he somehow managed to make it out of that life and took a different pathway, possibly thanks to that teacher and his mother and whatever, the stars aligned and kept him on a path that kept him from going down the same road as his friends. I always love seeing like the peek behind the curtain with celebrities and different actors. And I don't read like every celebrity memoir. I read ones that, I have a curiosity about the actor or, that maybe had a role that I absolutely love. So my favorite Al Pacino movie, and I know a lot of people are like Scarface, Godfather, Serpico. Mine was Devil's Advocate. I loved Devil's Advocate. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It's like him, Keanu Reeves, Charlize Theron. I can't remember any of the other, if there's any other like super big name actors in it, but that's one of my absolute favorite movies. And I didn't know either that it's a point in time like he decided he was done with film. He was like, all right, I did The Godfather, I did Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon. He just thought he was done. But then, right when you think you're out, they pull you right back in, and he went back into film. But he's still, like I said, he continued to do theater throughout this whole time, throughout his whole life, and he's in his 80s now. Some of the movies that he's been in have just been like some just insanely iconic major movies. And then he talks about too how like Scarface at the time, everybody was like, oh my God, what is this? This is horrible. And that people thought it was a terrible movie. And that movie now is like so iconic that it's crazy. Yeah, some of the other more recent movies that he's done was like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman. I think those are the most recent. But he's just been in so many great movies. This was a super fun memoir. I liked seeing behind the curtain, and you get into Al Pacino's mindset and brain and the ups and downs and how each person deals with fame differently. Yeah, the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, and all that good stuff. So if you like Al Pacino, if you like actor memoirs that are interesting and gritty and just, it really feels like when you read it that you're just sitting down and he's telling you stories from his life. So I like that. I like that vibe of it quite a bit. So yeah, if that sounds good to you, definitely check it out. I would highly recommend. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.